Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, the Chinese community, ni hao. And I'm honoured to be here today to speak to you because Auckland has serious problems and we need change. I was actually surprised. This is the first time we've seen the Mayor turn up to any of the debates. I think this is our 8th debate. We haven't seen him. He's been the invisible man. The problem is that I've been concerned as well because it was supposed to just be, maybe it was arrogance that he thinks he's the incumbent mayor. I think of him more as the recumbent mayor, trying to sleep his way into victory with Leoni as competition. But what we've got here is, I've looked back over, I stood last time, I looked back over what's changed. And aside from 18, I'll give him credit for that, so I'll give him a C- for achievement. He's better than D, for example, for golf and previous. So he struggled along, but I was actually surprised because I was concerned it can't just be arrogance. Surely he doesn't expect to just walk in here and to the other ones and take their vote without even talking to them. Because I know one thing, I wouldn't vote for anybody who doesn't turn up, and at least he respects your Chinese community. For once, probably the only time he'll turn up, he's shown up. So why? If it's not just sheer arrogance, I'm concerned that maybe we're in a Biden situation. I heard him give a speech just now and it sounds so frail. Now maybe it's time for an older person to step aside and let someone with energy and strength and ideas, because I don't see any solutions. Aside from getting AT, it's number 4 on his list. And what has changed? He wants to brain the lights. What has he achieved for congestion? His only idea is like a tax man. He wants congestion charges, he wants to put a bed tax on people coming in. I know one thing, if I get a choice and I've got to pay an extra 100, I'm going somewhere else, right? We want to build tourism. We want this city to be the best it can be. Okay, so this is a job interview. Number 1, you have to have someone with leadership and vision. Myself, I grew up in Otara, right? Went to university, got degrees in science, molecular genetics, virology, law, arts, anthropology, 2 psychology degrees. Anyway, and then I went overseas, lived in the outback, was in the army reserves there, lived in London, lived in the outback in Australia, lived in the islands. And then I came back to New Zealand. I was surprised. We've got a third world rail system, and rail is like the circulation system of a city. Now, what happens if that slows down? Everything slows down. They claim that it's $2.6 billion a year in losses. We've got to do something. And nothing's been done. Congestion's gotten worse. No ideas. We need a proper rail system, not one deeply embedded in the third world. So that's number 1. We need to get that done. The first thing I will do, it's only 7 kilometres from Puanui to the airport. But last time, Mayor Brown, ex-Mayor Brown, and the others were going for $14 billion lunacy to get from Britomart to the airport. Lunatic. This is what we need, a proper rail system. I will connect, and now we have AT with the government leading it because they also choose the chair. Maybe we'll get action. And what I want to do, I want to connect Manukau through Howick to Papakura, etc. I want to connect the airport north to Onehunga. If we connect from Sylvia Park to Newland, we've got a central rail system, just like London and the other ones. We connect west to the North Shore and down through the bridge. The reason is, that is a beautiful bridge. We've got one of the most beautiful places in the world to look at. It is not properly sold. I want to expand that bridge so we can cycle across, so we can walk across, because every time I go to look at that beautiful view, I'm trying to look and say to someone, take a photo. You don't get full view. What I want is to make it the Azure Arch. Like when you go to San Francisco, you want to go there for that. I want a rail system through there, and then the whole city is linked. It will not be a drain on us if it makes money. You make it efficient, you make it do its job. Now, I've been to Hong Kong 3 times this year, and I've been to Tokyo and Korea, and I've looked at their systems. They're beautiful. In fact, the first time I went, even in '84, one of the best systems in the world I saw was Hong Kong's rail system. So that's what we need. And also accountability. I hear everyone talking about accountability. They need to take their heads out of the facts and figures, as a leader should, and look out and say, what is the real situation? And it's this, accountability won't fall out of the sky. And if they've been waiting for decades for accountability that doesn't come, you have to take action. The only way we can do it is like they do in the States. We get up a waste, incompetence and corruption committee, and as the mayor, People talk about only limited powers. No, you're not just one person. You have your own support group. You make the committees. And I will make a WIC committee and put competent people, because I want to know, like he said, where is that money from the Auckland Future Fund? I want to know if someone's friend, for example, is sacked for incompetence or for some hidden money. I want to know why. We need to go into all these departments, because the first thing you do in a business, what do? You do due diligence. And it's about time when I get in, we look and say, where is the money going? Where it's being wasted? And not just sack people if not doing the job, put these people where it's needed. I know a lot of people, for example, that are builders that can't build because of the wasted time needed for approvals. So I would put those people and say, get those approvals done, because when you build another 10,000 houses, it provides jobs for others. It provides the builders, they need housing, they need shops to feed them. Get the city moving. So those are some of the important things. Now, let's take a look at the port system. Now, my idea of a rail system is not just we have rail, but we use a single gauge, because at night, I would like it to ship goods. So we want double purpose. Now, we've got a beautiful port area, but it's wasted. I want it, for example, and that's not where most people want to put their goods. They don't just put it in the harbour. I want to expand Onehunga. Now, I know the Mayor, for example, wrote the report for putting it in Whangarei, but you do not put your major area for goods in another city where they can charge us whatever they please. We must keep control of our assets. We must keep control of our ports. Now, people will complain and about Onehunga being, we can't do this. There are many ports in the world with similar problems. And they dredge. And not only that, let's think of another idea. Dredge the sand and that and sell it. You know how many big mountains we've lost here? 3 Kings. Okay? Used to be 3 Kings. Now there's only Big King left. We've used it to tear everything down and build our concrete. We could get all that sand out of the harbour and sell it for concrete, etc. So I've got a lot of ideas, and also income streams. A lot of us do not like having to pay for social spending. I want to start a new Auckland lottery to raise money, because that money that's here should stay in Auckland, not go to the rest of the country, and then go to social spending, so all the people struggling with cost of living, etc., won't have to take that stress, but the people are looked after. If you want solutions, you want someone with energy who will last 3 years, not maybe go to sleep and hope they're doing their work. You need someone with energy. And there's only 2 people with a path to victory here. You've got the Brown, who thinks he can sleep through. You've got Leoni, but I don't see any path. She only supports the left. She's supported by lefties and Labour. I don't see that. Thank you. Yeah, sure. Look, the thing is, you've had 3 years to implement that, and I don't see it done. If they were that simple, he could do it. But look, a lot of this is common sense. If you want to cut congestion, remove the bus lanes. As soon as you put in a bus lane, straight away, you double the congestion on the main roads. And how many of you have sat fuming, thinking you've got to get to work? And it annoyed me as one of the main reasons first I started standing, because I'm sick and tired of that. And you're sitting there and you see the lane is empty. And not just that, you see all these cycle lanes that are empty. And that's crazy. You should only have it for a half an hour period, then open it up and free up the roads for the traffic to flow. And also, why are we, for example, looking at large trucks during the morning, during rush hour? I come from Karaka, I live out in Karaka, and come through, and I'm going past all these giant trucks coming through. Put the big trucks off the road. These are very simple things. And as for the idea of dynamic lanes and braining this, seriously, if that's the best plan you've got, it's just pathetic. Look, action hasn't been done. They haven't done anything. And then they're going to tell us maybe another 3 years they'll do something. So what am I going to do? Look, let's take a look at rail. I like the idea of satellite towns. Extend the rail. We already have connection to Pukekohe, and I've heard others talk about extending these. We need to start Warkworth. How about to Helensville? And there's also talk of Tauranga. Connect these centres. People can live like in the States and other places. You live in a nice country, and within an hour, which is an acceptable time for travel, you're in the city. So housing. We need the infrastructure. Other ones, housing developments, developments have been knocked back because of the lack of infrastructure. Council doesn't want to pay. It is their job to pay. And also, if we're making such $1 million a year, why are we selling our assets?
Which one?
Well, the ones you just sold. Maybe if you don't remember, it's that. Yeah. Well, don't worry. Look, if you look, just calm down. Just calm down. First thing is, as I understand, there's a 30-year plan where they're supposed to have opened the way for 900,000 homes. So our job will be to make sure that those homes get built. So we're going to do whatever we can in council to make sure that, for example, I know builders who are going bust and having to sell their trucks because they're delayed by council. Council is not doing the approvals. So we want to make sure we get those houses built. Now, we can look at, and the government has done something in a good way in that it's allowed higher level building in the middle of the city. I don't agree with necessarily affecting our areas where there is history, and we have to respect our past. We have to respect, for example, Ponsonby buildings and that, but we also have to make sure that when we build these giant things, we don't put them out in South Auckland, or you'll have projects like in the States. So we need to make sure, number one, they get infrastructure. And also the housing. When you build up these places to 15 stories high or 3 or 4 stories high, often they're built to only handle the offlow and the sewage for one level. So council's going to have to make sure when approvals are done that they have sufficient coverage. What I'm going to do is, because all of council is one total body, and the money goes in various regions. With my WIC committee, I'll make sure that we decide where is it benefiting us and where is it not. I'll shut down areas, and even water care is not safe, because if they aren't benefiting us, if they are just making a few other shareholders and council a lot of money, and maybe not a lot of money, but they're affecting the people, we have to see whether that's a good idea. So we will make sure to have policies that support the growth. And housing, like I said, I want to look at not just cramming us higher and higher and cramming us closer together, but we have to have green spaces and spongy spaces as well for health. So what I'll do as well as the satellite cities. Thank you. As a leader, you have to inspire the people. You have to inspire their belief. You have to inspire their support and show you have vision. Before you can make a ship work more efficiently, you've got to make sure it's headed in the right direction. Now, you've got council. Now, don't forget, aside from the fact the mayor sets up all the committees, appoints the chairs of the committees, and a lot of them, for example, use that to buy off opposition. They want to stand for that. I've seen this happen. Many councillors, they go and say, okay, I'll let you stand here, don't stand against me, you can be chair. They make money. Look, that's not the point. The point is you need to work with everyone. And the way to do that, if there are some troublesome people, you can put them in a committee, because everyone has abilities where they won't cause any damage to the council. But more than that, I've been on the Auckland District Law Society, the New Zealand Law Society in Auckland, and even the Samoa Law Society. And the important thing is this: you don't have to win every vote. It should be a win-win. It's supposed to not be left or right, but depolarised. That's why we don't like voting for people and they take off their political badges, because we want someone who will put the benefit of Aucklanders first, not a political party. And even ones that have too much money spending millions on campaigning, remember this: the piper has to be paid. So the time that they're spending a fortune on advertising their campaign, who do they have to pay off after the election? You need someone who's independent, but also someone who will make it a win-win. The whole point is a win-win. Give people what they want. You don't just make the people happy, but most important of all, you must make sure you get the support of the public. If you show that you're actually getting things done, you are helping and get the people behind you, then the rest of the councillors realise that is what we want to follow. Thank you.